yeah, I'm not sure which side to stand on. This is rare because I've actually never seen this picture of me before, so it's always exciting to discover something new about yourself. Have any of you heard of Makerversity? I mean, that's just a question I'm interested in. You know, yeah, your hands, okay. But lots of new people as well. It's really exciting. So, what is it? That is a question we get asked a lot, particularly currently as we're here in Amsterdam. So, essentially, we do two things. We provide affordable space for people who make professionally in city centres, so London and now Amsterdam. And we also run learning programs for young people that we want to inspire about careers in that space. Our London site is based in this very glamorous building called Somerset House in the centre of London. Some of you may know it. It's a 300-year-old naval palace. It's an amazing, beautiful Grade 1 listed building, and Makerversity is located in the slightly less glamorous basement, 2 floors down. And it's interesting because I was trying to think about what the Amsterdam equivalent of this building might be, and it's kind of like the Rijksmuseum without any of the art in it, with a slightly motley collection of kind of office space, and then things like an ice skating rink, film, fashion. They do a lot of like fairly kind of sexy culture stuff. It's a relatively new cultural institution. So it's an exciting space for us to be in. It's an exciting space where we began our business. This is another lovely London shot. This is a slightly new presentation for me. It's a set of videos that Tom, who I work with, put together, showing off our London building. But in terms of what does that mean? You know, when I talked about those things that we do, what does that mean practically? So we believe that people who make find it hard to find the spaces that they need to work in cities, and we believe that having making happening in the centre of cities is important. Like, we believe it's important that city centres have real kind of commerce and industry at their heart, and like people really producing stuff as opposed to all just being purely digital or being purely touristy. Like, those are the things that we care about. And we also believe schools do a really bad job of kind of presenting what careers in that space could look like, and it's a massively changing world anyway, you know, in terms of producing hardware, things like 3D printing, all of the new technologies that exist in that space, about how you can make. We really care about introducing young people to those things and getting them excited about it. So practically what that means is we provide office space, so all of the things that you would have, you know, in a sort of standard co-working space where you might sit with your laptop, but crucially we provide that alongside this kind of space, so messy industrial space, workshops where you can build, you can make a mess, you can do things like this. And we provide a mixture of this kind of space alongside clean digital space, so 3D printing space, textile space. Got another shot of a lovely 3D printer here. And assembly space. So all of the things that a range of different people who make might need. And we take a super broad view on what making means. It's a word that can mean lots of different things to different people. There's something called the maker movement, which means quite a particular kind of making. We take a much broader view of what it means. It's essentially anyone who's producing something physical as their profession. You could be an engineer, you could be a technologist, you could be a fine artist, you could be a craftsperson, you could be doing stuff with kind of biohacking. If you're producing something physically, then we essentially provide a space for you to be based from. And what we believe is that having the diversity in our community is super, super important. So our name, Makerversity, comes from this idea of having a mix of makers, so in terms of diversity, but also the idea that the people who make in our space teach younger people as well, so they're also our faculty. Getting the real machine, the machine porn. Being in a cultural institution like Somerset House also gives us lots of opportunities to kind of show off work as well. So this is just a picture of a factory space that we had. These are some members of ours who have hacked a knitting machine, so you can print knitwear on demand to produce this kind of work, which is really interesting. These guys are called the Unseen. They have a kind of chemical compound that they've created, which they coat different materials with, and it changes in response to light and temperature. So they have a kind of fashion brand that they've created, which produces this kind of really, beautiful bespoke work. But then they also have a white label commercial business as well that has nothing to do with the fashion, which they make a lot of money from, but it's totally invisible. the outside world. So those are these are just a couple of examples of the sorts of businesses that we work with. And in terms of how it all began, it began in an empty, disused space that hadn't been used for 20 years, covered in dust. It was the old post room of the tax office that used to be based in this building, and we took it on, fitted it out ourselves. A lot of people gave us their time and energy for nothing. We didn't have any money when we started it. And 3 years on, the space in London is now full. We've got 220 people who are based there. They come from an amazing array of creative disciplines. And now we're here, and that's that's obviously a massive step for us as a business. I'm actually going to come back to those ones later. These are just some images of our learning work that we do with young people. This is an amazing event called Autodesk University in America. Some of you may know Autodesk. You may use their software. So we have a set of lesson content for schools that we've produced because we want to help teachers introduce making into mainstream subjects. We want to give them that feeling of give kids that feeling of what it feels like to build something yourself and introduce them to some of these technologies in a really fun way. So we've got a set of this lesson content, and we went to this event where we showed off some of the stuff that we did. More making. This guy is building a desktop rotational molder. So he's essentially creating cheap, kind of self-built versions of machines that in a factory you would spend thousands and thousands of pounds on. Super interesting business. This is Paul, one of our super techie members. He now works for Autodesk full-time. But this is really what I wanted to talk to you about. So now we're in Amsterdam. It's a massive step for us as a business. So when we started 3 years ago, we didn't even really know what we were setting out to create. We kind of had this empty space. We filled it with a bunch of people. Then at some point we sorted it out a bit as a business. And now it's kind of a thriving community. But even now we sometimes ask ourselves this question, what is it that we've created and what is it that we're creating? And we know what we care about. We know that we care about communities. We know that we care about amazing workspace for those people and that happening in cities, but we're still on a big kind of journey of discovery. We felt like the demand was there, so our London space was full in 6 months after we opened it, and after we opened it, we had a bunch of people from all around the world who contacted us saying, we'd like to do, we're interested in doing what you've done. And I remember we had this meeting with this spreadsheet with a list of places from LA, Budapest, Barcelona, all these cities, and we were like, where do we go? What do we know about expanding globally? It's not something we've ever done before. And we were kind of arguing about locations with zero context whatsoever. It was just LA would be really cool. And then we got a bit more serious about it. We were like, no, actually, we want it to be more than a site. We want it to be a business. We have kind of ambitions that go beyond just this one space. And actually, we're more excited about doing that internationally than we are doing it in the UK. We looked at a bunch of kind of different opportunities there that weren't quite right for us. And what it really made us realize is that for our business to work, what we need is cities that have amazing creative populations. So Amsterdam's a big tick, that have quite expensive property, because otherwise there isn't really a market for what we offer. But crucially, we also need a really interesting building and a good partner. The basis of what we do, that's the space, the location, the feel that it has for people, that's really, really important too. So Amsterdam kind of felt like an obvious candidate. I've been asked so many times in the last few months, why Amsterdam? And it's interesting because for us, I think once we'd moved from just kind of playing with names on an Excel spreadsheet, it just felt like a really obvious next step. Also, I think, one of the things that one of our non-execs said to us was you've got to be excited about the city that you're going to go and set up business in. You need to feel your heart is in that as well. I actually grew up in North Holland, and then moved back to the UK as a 13-year-old. I never thought I'd find myself here again. But it's amazing to feel the wind off the canal and get this sense of deja vu. Tom, who I work with, his brother lives here, his family's here. So, I think for both of us personally, we were like, yes, Amsterdam is where we want to go next. doing it will teach us an enormous amount about our business. And the plan for Beyond is, who knows? For the minute, it's like, let's make this work. Let's see where it's going. And it all came together when we had a funder and sitting doing, and then this building came up. So some of you may know the Marina Terrein sites. If you haven't been there already, I would go. It's essentially a new part of Amsterdam that has never been open to the public before, which is now, there to be enjoyed. Like, not that many people know about it, I think. And it's funny, the guys who run it kind of want everyone to come, but at the same time are slightly protective about it as well. And we're in this building, which is an old naval building, which is very, very beautiful. And it's funny, when we pitched the competition, we basically pitched 5 floors of a plan. We were going to have a roof garden on the top. And then we realised how expensive it was and what we could afford. And now we're on this first space here, and then we're in this warehouse next door. That's where we've got the making space. So this is the work in progress building. We're still building, so we're kind of permanently in beta. That's our way of working. And also, if you have a community for makers, the last thing that they want is a finished space. So we've got half of the co-working space that's open now, and half of our workshop space, so our woodworking space, is open now, and we're building the digital and the textile workshop at the minute. So if any of you want to come along, I'd urge you to come and check it out. And in a minute, I'm just going to show you some of the members that are in Amsterdam to give you a flavour of that. But one of the questions that Robin asked me when we were talking about this was, how is it different being here, or what have we learned? And when you're doing something like this, all you can do is start with what you know and then take it somewhere else and find out all of the things that are different to what you expected. I'd say right now we're in the middle of that learning curve. We're finding out all the stuff that people don't understand about a name, don't understand about how we describe ourselves, all the stuff that people love about it, which is amazing as well. It's a totally, totally different space to the space that we have in London, which is in a kind of grade 1 historic building that's it's like a labyrinth. There's lots and lots of different small rooms. It's not this beautiful light space, but it's a much more gritty, like messy space, which makes people feel differently to the way that this place makes them feel. And it makes people expect different things from you. So the way that this place, what people expect from us when they see this. So we're discovering all of that stuff. But I think the most exciting thing for me about being here is that the members that we have now, so we've got 30 founder members who've joined us in the last month. They're exactly the kind of people that we're excited about supporting. I could equally see them in London as here. I think, London is a massive, massive city, and actually the design community, the creative community in that can be relatively invisible, or certainly where we are in the centre of London, it's quite hard to see it. Whereas here, I think there's a bit more creative freedom. I think people have a bit more space and room for manoeuvre in terms of simply money in their lives. It's like a slightly less cripplingly expensive city to live in London. There's a really strong tradition of critical design, which I think exists in the UK as well. But in the UK, no one goes and sets up a practice in critical design after they leave university. They can't afford to do that. Whereas here, there's a bunch of people who are doing really, really exciting stuff in that space. We had the whole school from Amsterdam who came to see us on Tuesday, and someone there asked me whether they were are people here as ambitious as they are in London? And I was like, wow, it's not even that's never occurred to me as a thought. Everyone here is if not more ambitious, I would say. So we are, at the beginning of a journey. It's a bit of a voyage into the unknown for us, but that's exactly why we're doing it. That's exactly how we like to operate as a business. Sometimes that's uncomfortable, but it's also the way, we believe it's the way that we'll build something that's amazing and that works here. So if you're interested, come and see us, check out the space, and I'll just show you some of the members as well now, if I can.
So small.
So I've just picked a couple of the people that are in the space right now to give you a sense of the breadth, I guess, and also the kind of high-tech, low-tech mix. So these guys, Mokomono, are taking essentially a fabrication technique from car manufacture and putting that into bicycle making. They really care about bringing bicycle manufacturing back into the Netherlands. So that's what they're working on. Pim Dekkers builds, at the other end of the spectrum is building really, really beautiful wooden furniture. It's a very traditional making technique. The GrowX guys have a massive hydroponics. They're interested in urban farming for everyone, essentially. So it's both using technology like hydroponics, but it's also got quite an interesting business model behind it. So the idea is they will grow things for you in an urban farm scenario and send you that food. Social magnetics are doing lots of, this is very, very techy. Like sometimes I'm like, do I understand it properly? It's kind of voice-based smart home technology. They speak, it's quite weird in the space because you hear them quite often like speaking to this machine Alexa that they're working with. They're doing great stuff. And then We Smell the Rain, some of you may know already, they build really beautiful plant installations that we are all crazy about. So that's just a flavour of some of the people in the space to give you an idea. That's it from me.
Cool.